Please rise for a salute to the flag and a moment of silence, remembering our men and women serving our country, the families of victims of 9/11, and our tragic loss of Middlesex County Commissioner Deputy Director Kenny Armwood.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Notice requirements of the open public meeting will have been satisfied concerning this meeting. The Home News Tribune and the Star Ledger published a notice on December 18, 2020. It was posted on the municipal bulletin board and should be so noted in the minutes of this meeting. Councilman Spiller.
Here.
Councilman Ficarra.
Here.
Councilwoman Meehan. Here. Councilwoman Drum. Councilman Patel.
Yeah.
Councilman Anderson.
Yes. Here.
Councilwoman De Jesus.
Here.
Vice President Bauer.
Here.
And President Small.
Here.
Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from March 16, 2021?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments from council? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We'll begin with second reading ordinances this evening. I'm going to start off with taking letters A and B by consent. Both are second reading ordinances to amend Chapter 7, which is the traffic and parking general ordinance of the Township of Woodbridge. The first is to add a handicap parking space on Spruce Street. The second is to delete a handicap parking space on Clare Avenue. And letter B is with regards to traffic moving and parking on property owned by the township, which is located at 400 Inman Avenue in Colonia, which is the Colonia Evergreen Senior Center. With that said, can I get a motion to take up both of these ordinances on second and third reading and the public hearing be opened?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments from council? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. The public hearing is now open on letters A and B only. There are no comment from the public. Can I get a motion that the public hearing be closed, the ordinance be adopted and submitted to the mayor for approval as required by law?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments from council? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We'll take letters C and D as consent. Both of these ordinances repeal previously adopted ordinances 2110 and 2111 with regards to acquiring property. Can I get a motion that these two ordinances be taken up on second and third reading and the public hearing be open?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments from council? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. The public hearing is now open on letters C and D only. C and D.
Hello, Mr. President, Ken Gardner, Woodbridge. Just looking at these, and Mr. Nish said we're repealing this, so these are properties the town was going to purchase and is no longer doing that?
Mr. Simulacra?
I think that's abundantly clear. That's why it's being repealed.
I'm sorry to put you out by having you answer the question for me.
No, not at all. It's being repealed, so it's obviously what it stood for.
Okay, I mean, this is the public hearing, right? That's when the public is supposed to ask questions as required by law. So I'm just asking questions.
And I'm answering them for you.
Can you tell me more about these properties and I guess individually, what is C and what is D? What property, why was the town going to buy them and why are we not buying them now? I mean, if it got to the second reading of an ordinance, that means there was a considerable amount of time, employee research, appraisals, money spent.
We went into negotiation, Mr. Gardner, and at the end of the negotiation, we couldn't come to final agreement, so we repealed them.
Okay, and so letter C, what property was that?
That would be 104 Main,
104 Main Street?
and D would also be 104 Main.
Okay. Are those the properties that the mayor was talking about in the State of the Township address with building a steakhouse?
That was 106 Main.
That was 106, okay, thank you. So can you tell me what 104 is?
I'm not sure what the building looks like, but I'm sure that it's next to 106. I'm really not clear what the building looks like. I know the bank building is 106.
Right.
I'm not sure what that building looks like.
Okay.
I think next door would be the auto parts store on one side.
I'm sorry.
The auto parts store should be on one side.
Well, that would be a higher number, right?
It's the opposite side.
Yeah.
It's the building before the bank.
Yeah.
Before the...
It's an even number, so it'd be on the same side of the street.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions from the public? Here are no other questions. Can I get a motion that the public hearing be closed, the ordinances be adopted and submitted to the mayor for approval as required by law?
Motion? Second.
Any questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Letter E is an ordinance approving a traffic signal at the intersection of Inman Avenue at Cleveland and Cavour in the Colonia section of Woodbridge. Can I get a motion that this ordinance be taken up on second and third reading and the public hearing be open?
Motion? Second.
Any questions or comments from council? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. The public hearing is now open on letter E only. Here are no comment from the public. Can I get a motion that the public hearing be closed, the ordinance be adopted and submitted to the mayor for approval as required by law?
Motion? Second.
Any questions or comments from council? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We're going to take letters F and G together, I'm sorry. Both ordinances are ordinances. One is to adopt the amended Penval and Cutters Dock Road redevelopment plan. The other is to adopt the downtown Woodbridge Area 6 redevelopment plan. Can I get a motion that both these ordinances be taken up on second and third reading and the public hearing be open?
Motion? Second.
Any questions or comments from council? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. The public hearing is now open on letters F and G only.
Mr. President, Ken Gardner, Woodbridge First. Can you explain letter F, what we're doing at Penn Val and Cutters Dock Road?
Ms. Darden?
Marta?
Yeah, so this is an amendment to the previously adopted plan to add additional property.
Right, and why are you doing the redevelopment in that area? Is there an intention to build something in particular? What is the zone going to be? What more can you tell me about what you're doing there? So that I would understand, or anybody watching the meeting would understand.
So the plan is the zoning, and so like many areas in town where we've adopted flexible zoning where appropriate, there is the permission for warehousing. I know you've lived in the area forever, so you're probably familiar with Penval Road and the long and storied itinerant violators, of which not all the property owners and property users are in that area, but of course many are. It is pretty long and storied, and so the idea is to attract development there that will be beneficial to the town, to the property owners, and will literally participate in the environmental remediation that multiple property owners down there have had administrative consent orders against them for many years, and like so much that we're doing with green infrastructure to literally reinvigorate the river and put the wetlands back to the wetlands that as they deserve to be and the DEP requires.
Thank you for the detail. In conjunction with that, is there any kind of traffic plan in conjunction with that? You know, as you said, you know, that's surrounded by residential areas on...
Well, at this point, again, this is the zoning, so the plan with regard to traffic would be more specifically handled at the board level based on the specific applications that we get.
Okay, and I appreciate you saying that, and just, you know, for the record, there's got to be a first step in every process, so whether it's warehouses or apartments or whatever it is, you know, this could be the first step of the process. So, you know, that's why I'm asking questions, just to get more clarification on it. And then for Area 6, that's the downtown, is that the entire downtown district, and then some on to Fulton Street, I guess?
Yeah, it's specific properties, that's why it's divided, the plans for the downtown, though. I mean, as you're also probably aware, this downtown area has been studied more than any other. If you put all the rest of the study that we've done for all of the other sections of town together, we've done more studies and plans and public notices and hearings about and in the downtown than anywhere else. So this is just a specific area, and the reason that it's divided into areas is for to specifically get at addressing some of the issues that you're trying to address here, and also to then deal with the individual property owners as they may want to participate in some redevelopment of their property.
Is there a possibility that that property will be zoned for multifamily and we could build even more apartments over there? Is that what this is doing?
Well, the plan does, as all the other plans, the state aid we've had, yes, it includes that opportunity. But it doesn't just include the opportunity for residential. It's a multifactorial permitting. This is the grand scheme of zoning. It permits a lot more than just residential.
If we can't limit more multifamily, then I would suggest the council vote no. This is just, we're just talking about F and G in this, correct? That's all I have, thanks.
Any other comments from the public on F and G only? Here are no other comments. Can I get a motion that the public hearing be closed, the ordinance to be adopted and submitted to the mayor for approval as required by law?
Motion. Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We'll take letters H and I by consent also. These are both ordinances as well. One is the approval of the financial agreement with Woodmont Industrial MBA Urban Renewal, and the second is with 200 Wood Avenue South Urban Renewal. Can I get a motion that the public hearing be open on the second and third readings for H and I?
Motion. Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. The public hearing is now open on H and I only.
Ken Gardner, Mr. President. So these two are giving long-term tax exemptions. All right. So I guess, again, to our planner, in order to do that, the properties need to be in need of redevelopment, correct?
Yes?
Yes. And so what, is there any tax being paid on these properties currently?
Mr. Similuka?
He should be directing through the chair,
Okay.
Counselor.
I apologize.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Yeah,
President.
that's all right.
I didn't mean to
Go
cut
ahead.
you off in any way. That was not my intention. I think the
Mr.
chair,
Similuka,
I think the chair asked you to answer, Mr. Similuka, by the way.
So what was the question, Mr. Gardner? I'm sorry.
The question is, what taxes are being paid on these properties currently?
So right now, which one are we talking about? Let's take them one at a time.
Sure, that'd be great. So H,
So H, so right now H pays around $37,400 a year. They have it's a pilot program, of course, as you know what a pilot program is. It's a 30-year agreement, which will increase their taxes to $108,000 a year for 30 years.
Okay, and
So, go ahead.
And
Aye.
so it's a phase-in of the taxes. The first year they pay 20% and increases by 20, or I'm sorry, that wouldn't be right.
No,
What is
it's for $108,000 for 30 years.
for 30 years? Okay. And so it's going to be the same property owner, or it's going to be a new property owner? And what are they doing with the property?
It's the current property owner that received the pilot. Whether they sell it or not, that's up to that property owner.
Okay, so we have somebody that owns the property and we're going to give them a tax abatement for 30 years. And it's the same thing on letter I, just on a different property, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other comments from the public on H and I, letters H and I only? Hearing no other comments from the public, can I get a motion that the public hearing be closed, the ordinance be adopted and submitted to the mayor for approval as required by law?
Motion. Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next, Mr. President, we have first reading ordinances listed as J, K, L, M, N, and O. Can I get a motion that these ordinances be passed on first reading, published in the Home Tribune on April 9, 2021? Notice of public hearing be held on April 20, 2021 at 6 p.m.
Motion. Second.
Any questions or comments from council? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Finally, under resolutions, you have listed number 1 through 37 inclusive. Could I get a motion to approve 1 through 37?
Motion. Second.
Any questions or comments from council?
Mr. Lynch, I'll be abstaining from number 37.
So noted. Any other comments from council? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, Mr. President.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go into the open public session. Please state your name, part of the township you live in, and you have a 5-minute one-time period.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Alfieri from Port Reading, New Jersey. As President knows, I live a couple blocks from here. Came to you, excuse me, I've come before this council in regards to the trains in the back where we live, okay? Prior to 2020 and everything that has gone on with COVID, we had started a plan where we were going to get them to keep the trains away and keep the noise down to a certain amount. I don't know if anybody else has noticed, but it's gotten worse again. To the point where it's just blatant now. First they were going to stay away, they were going to be at the other end, we were going to do X, Y, and Z, we had cameras up, this and that. Ever since that, we haven't heard a thing. I personally have been in touch with certain members. I don't even get a return call anymore. So I was wondering if we can get an update on that. Also, Port Reading, as you know, Rosewood Lane has become a racetrack. We recently had a child just get hit. Last year, my dog got killed. I don't know what we're going to do to slow that down, but it's getting to a point of hazard for children to even be outside. You know, when I called the township police department, I was told, well, you should keep your kids in the yard instead of putting them out front if you're concerned. That's not an answer you get. So I'd like to know where we're going with this, because there was told to me that we were going to put up a barrier because there was so much coming through. That hasn't transpired. Where we stand on all this? Because at some point, it's not just going to be a kid that gets killed, it's going to be numerous kids. Because from 8 o'clock in the morning, 6:30, 7, it's a racetrack because everybody's flying by to get to work. Same thing on the way home. Parents who have children in the school are flying there to get to this kids on school on time. They're going to kill somebody else's kid trying to get their kid to school. Something has to be done. And I'm not talking about putting a police officer in an unmarked car sitting there and he grabs maybe 5 or 6 or 7 people. Because everybody knows what the cars look like, so they start to slow down. You have 2 young gentlemen who think it's a racetrack with their 2 little Acuras running around sometimes on a Friday night like it's a racetrack chasing each other. I don't know what point does it have to get till somebody's going to get really killed. I mean, you had a kid get hit by a car just recently. The person spun off and left in a minivan. The police department came to my house to take the videotape from me. At what point are we going to do something to protect the people and the children that live on that block? And it's not just one Rosewood Lane. You go up one more block, and as Mr. Small, you know, it's even just as bad. Anything to avoid the lights, they will do. We can't put speed bumps up. We can't do anything. At one point, I was ready to throw a garbage can in the middle of the street to stop this moron from driving at 6:30 in the morning, who almost took me out, and I was getting in my car to go to work. The fact that he drove by me so fast twisted me and my car door swung open. I had it in my mind to go chase him, but what would that have done? I probably would have been the one to get arrested. So something needs to be done. I'm not just talking about the cars and everything else. And the trains, we've had this discussion, and I'm sorry if I sound adamant, but it's getting to be a point where you can't, we're getting answers, but we're not getting nowhere. It's like walking in quicksand. You're taking 2 steps and you go deeper, and you're not coming out with an answer. So
Okay,
I'd like to understand what we're doing.
So I'll address the train issue first, and you couldn't be more accurate. We know we live 7, 8 houses apart. The switch is next to my house. The trains are out of control. You're absolutely right. It's unbearable sometimes. The business administrator has been working diligently and has come up with a new plan, and if he wants to talk about it, feel free,
So
please.
we have a couple of things in place. One is the new spur that we've talked about. The slowdown for the spur we're going out to bid next week as far as replacement of the utilities that run underneath the new spur. So that'll go out next week, and you'll probably see progress there within the next 6 months as putting in the new utilities underneath the new spur as the railroad starts to build that. As far as the traffic is concerned, we'll let the TEU unit know for the PD, and we'll have them out there right away.
Yeah, but no disrespect to you or the Woodbridge Police Department, you guys have got your hands full with enough stuff. Putting a police officer there for 2 or 3 hours and then they got to go to another location isn't deterring people. I mean, you had a woman in a minivan hit a kid, drive about 4 houses forward, stopped in front of my house to look to see what damage was done to her car.
Mr.
And then
Alfieri?
drove away.
Mr. Alfieri, your time is up, but we're going to answer your questions, okay? Mr. Semaluka?
I'm going to have Casey speak with him in the hall, and we'll get his
Okay,
information.
regarding the roast,
And,
the
well, yeah,
train
we'll
stuff.
have a call tomorrow, Mr. Alfieri.
And as far, Mr. Alfieri, as far as the traffic, I mean, police put the track route there last year. 3,000 cars a day are traveling up and down a residential street, which, in my opinion, is absolutely absurd. The mother came to my house early during that incident too. I provided the Carteret police with videotape of that suspect vehicle. Yes, hit the little girl, deaf girl, and took off. I've been told that the Carteret police have solved that case, thank God. But exactly, I mean, and I know what it is to leave at 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning. You're looking down the street to see, you know, who's doing 70 miles an hour. And you know, past experiences as a police officer, you know, I ran radar out there all the time, but you could have somebody there 24/7. And it's crazy because the street is on all the maps that'll cut you through instead of taking Roosevelt Avenue to Port Reading Avenue to go to the industrial parks and the warehouses on Port Reading Avenue, it cuts you down Rosewood Lane. So I understand exactly what you're talking about, and something, we have to do something. You can't, I'm sorry. But Casey wants to see if he's going to provide you with some information. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alfieri.
Are there any other comments from the public this evening?
Thank you. I don't mean to cut in front of anybody. Mr. President, I asked at the last planning board, Councilwoman Drum is the council's representative on the planning board. I think it's called a Class 3 member. So she attends the planning board meetings and votes as a member of the planning board, but also votes as a member of the council. I had asked how long she has been on that board at the last meeting. I didn't hear from anybody. Does anybody know?
Mr. Gardner, you could do an Oprah request on that. Unfortunately, Ms. Drum isn't
Okay.
here tonight.
Okay. I would just, ask for simplification. It's a simple question. I guess I'll call her. Number 2, I was council president in town, as the planner mentioned, ages ago, 1992. I was thinking about it, that I got my first cell phone then, and the size of the case that you had to carry it in was about the size of a shoebox. I'm sure all of you remember the same thing. Modern technology, we now have, the administration has got a drone that can take video of Main Street. It's great. Mr. President, when I was council president and the public came to ask questions of the administration, our TV 35, which does an incredible job, showed the faces of the people coming and speaking at the meeting. They don't need to see me. Mr. Simaluka is much better looking than I am. Show him when I come up. But you've got members here of the African American community that have been coming to you for justice for about 2 years now. I think it would just be nice to put their faces on TV. That's something that could be done immediately. I know the administration is looking into ways to make sure that there's no discriminatory action across the town government, which is a great thing to do as well. But this is something that could be done immediately. Whether it's people from Black Lives Matter or the PBA or any resident in town that comes to speak, put them on TV so the people can see what they are saying and watch them speak. I just think it would be a fair thing to do. Next item, Adelaide Avenue in Woodbridge. It's up behind Woodbridge High School. It dead ends down into the railroad, which runs behind the library. It's been clogged up for quite some time. Residents have told me they've called the council people and asked for it to be done, and it has not been done. I shouldn't say council people, I should say Councilwoman Drum. I apologize. I don't want to put that on anybody else. But there's a culvert at the end. There's some riprap with
What
rocks.
needs to be done, Mr. Gardner?
It needs to be cleaned out when we have heavy
Rubbish?
rains.
Rubbish or the sewer system?
It's above ground, so it's rubbish, vegetation growing up through it. Something just needs to be done. When it's backed up, the water can't get down the hill. It backs up. Some of the people in that neighborhood have driveways that go down where their basements are kind of, or their garages are sub-level, so water's backing up. If you
Mr.
could
Simaluka,
take a
will
look
you let
into that.
Director Bruno?
So just so I'm clear, I'm pretty familiar with Adelaide Drive. I have 2 friends that live there. Doesn't that end in a 30-foot drop-off to the railroad tracks?
It does, and it's right by.
And
One of your
there's
friends
something
lives
that's
right at the end of the
clogged?
block.
Is it the drain that's clogged, or is it the street?
There's a portion of it that is slightly graded but more flat before the drop off to the tracks, and that's where the water's getting backed up. So it's kind of right where the pavement stops. They had done something years ago, but again, people have asked for it to be cleaned out, and it hasn't been. So
Yeah, I'll have DPW take a look at that.
should be a simple thing. I looked at it myself. Also on streets, Valentine and Dunham Place. They run between Amboy Avenue and Linden Avenue. They're very narrow streets, and I know that when we get a lot of snow, it's a difficult situation. Our Public Works team does an incredible job. By the way, I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I think when McCormick became mayor, he put plows on bicycles. He's got every truck out there plowing. You guys do a great job with that. The mayor, Public Works, Dennis Henry, George Brew, yourself, everybody does a great job. But these streets are so narrow. Is there any kind of special plan that we have for those streets? Some of the residents had said it's, again, I know this year when we got the second storm, it was almost impossible, but is there some kind of special plan that we have for that?
Mr. Gardner, you have a question is that for me or Mr.?
I'm sorry.
You're
I'm
looking
sorry,
at
Mr.
Mr.
President.
Simaluka.
I'd ask you, Mr. President, if you'd like to answer.
I'm not aware of any, Mr. Simaluka.
So we use our smaller vehicles for that, Mr. Gardner. We also, on Valentine Place, because I have a family member that lives there, they actually knock on the doors and ask them to move the cars if they can, if they possibly can, if the snow's not that high, and they try to plow the street on both sides.
Thank you. Did my time
Your
expire?
time is up, Mr. Gardner.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other comments this evening from the public?
Victoria Birch, Colonia. Hello all. This list with the agenda, is this the first place that we're able to see resolutions come up for the meeting that's going to happen that day?
Yes.
Okay. Because I saw, on the Devil's Place Facebook. Just stay away if you can.
I'm
That there
sorry,
was-
what is it called?
I just really hate Facebook. That's
Oh, okay.
irrelevant.
Okay,
But
Facebook,
I saw on there from the PBA that there was supposed to be a resolution about the hiring practices for police, and the PBA urged the people who support the PBA to check in with you guys and urge you to vote no on that resolution. I don't see the resolution.
That resolution was pulled by the administration, and they're reviewing it.
Okay. So being that this is the first place that we're supposed to be able to see it, that's the first place that like we would have the information about it, right?
Excuse me, 1 second.
No.
There's no, the draft is not available right now because it's not.
Okay. I'm just trying to see if we were told as a public to form an opinion about it and urge you to have a position on it, shouldn't we have? I understand that's not up to you. That was something that the PBA did, posting about it. But if I wanted to form an opinion on it and urge the council to act on you get what I'm saying? Like, is there any way that I could learn about things like that beforehand? And also, what the hell was that resolution?
It's not here, it's not on.
Right.
So there would be nothing for you to review. So when it's done and it's ready, then it will be put out.
Okay. So then, all right. I'm just wondering what,
There's nothing currently proposed, so there's nothing
Right.
for you to look at until a document is prepared. There's nothing for you to look at.
from a council perspective, I can completely understand that. I'm just curious about us being urged to take a particular stance from the PBA and then report it back to our council representatives.
The council has no control over that.
Right. It's just if I understand that the public doesn't have the same direct access to what the resolutions would be impacting, but and I feel like we go through this kind of thing all the time with the town of like, we want to know what's going on with the town, we want things to be more transparent, and then certain institutions and places are privy to information. Obviously, the public doesn't need to know absolutely every detail before we can make an informed opinion about it, but yeah, if there's any way that we could get information clearly, that would be great. Yeah, I guess that's all I wanted to know because something like police hiring policies, very important, pertinent, and timely. So thank you.
There are state statutes that you can look at that are out there. There's some new state statutes that are out there.
Yeah.
So you're welcome to look at that. That's available currently.
Is that,
Why don't you see me after the meeting and I'll try to steer you in the right direction.
great. I just want to know how closely linked that would be with what Woodbridge has planned.
I don't know that I can answer that. If you want to see me after the meeting, I'll point you to the direction of the statute and then you take a look at that if you want.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other comments from the public this evening?
Good evening, James Dabrowski, Woodbridge proper. Yesterday, yet another terrible news story broke about yet another civil rights lawsuit against Woodbridge. The headline states, Carteret man sues 13 Woodbridge cops over alleged police brutality after mistaken ID. The article reads, a Carteret man is suing 13 Woodbridge police officers and the township, claiming he was the victim of police brutality after being mistaken for another person. The lawsuit filed by March 31st by Jeremiah Daniels Porter names as defendants Woodbridge Township and police officers Hector Rivera, William Petrovi, James Faris, Andrew Ferreira, Carlos Villegas, Jake Fasano, Michael Delisanti, Adrian Valentino, James Distelkamp, John Rastagarpana, David Ricardo, Philip Agasta, and Richard Hilliard. According to the lawsuit, on April 2nd, 2019, Daniels Porter was a customer at Quick Check, 475 Broadway Ave, when he was misidentified by employees as another man who had been banned from the store. Police were called to the store while Daniels Porter was in the restroom, and as he exited the restroom, Rivera and Petrovi detained and interrogated him. When Daniels Porter objected to being detained and interrogated, the officers allegedly proceeded to violently use force upon plaintiff, tackling him to the ground and striking him repeatedly. As Daniels Porter was being held on the ground by the two officers, 11 other Woodbridge police officers arrived and began to pile onto and brutalize him. Daniels Porter was taken to a hospital for treatment of his injuries. The officers had no probable cause to stop, detain, injure, or arrest Daniels Porter, the lawsuit states, adding that Daniels Porter suffered serious and permanent injuries to his head, limbs, and body, as well as emotional distress from fear he would die. The township will not offer comment on pending litigation, John Haggerty, the township's communications director, said in an email. According to the lawsuit, the officers violated Daniels Porter's right to be protected against unreasonable seizure as guaranteed by the New Jersey State Constitution and in violation of his civil rights. The lawsuit also alleges the township failed to train, instruct, supervise, control, and discipline the police officers. Quick Check also was named as a defendant in the lawsuit for misidentifying Daniels Porter, which caused him to be subject to injuries by the police. One of the 13 cops implicated in this latest lawsuit, David Ricardo, posted a photo of himself on his Facebook page wearing a horrifyingly Islamophobic shirt that reads "Infidel," and commented under that photo that he lets his dog urinate and defecate on a picture of the face of our nation's first ever black president with the word "change." In another terrifying Facebook post, Ricardo shares a photo that reads, "Don't like cops? Next time you're in trouble, try calling a crackhead." Woodbridge PBA President James Distelkamp was another of the 13 officers implicated in the brutal assault on Jeremiah Daniels Porter, and he just put out an urgent call to action on his police union's Facebook page 3 days ago on April 3rd, urging Woodbridge residents to contact council members and urge them to vote no on a bipartisan diversity resolution passed by the NJ State Legislature that was supposed to be on the agenda and voted on by the council tonight. But apparently a bare minimum resolution that might help Woodbridge finally begin to diversify its overwhelmingly white police force is too much for Distelkamp and his PBA, as they continue to prove that they will always fight against even the slightest hint of anything that might resemble reform. I remember when my wife expressed her concerns about the police department's shameful lack of diversity, she was literally shouted down by Woodbridge cops, one of whom was even wearing a black shirt with big white letters that read "Blue Lives Matter," an anti-black white supremacist response to Black Lives Matter. Then Council President Corey Spiller, who was a very vocal supporter in the comments of Distelkamp's latest call to action, didn't eject any of the wildly disruptive and disrespectful cops from the meeting, as he and his fellow Trump supporters Brian Small, Howie Bauer, and Debbie Meehan bend over backwards for the Trump-supported PBA, as do the majority of the council, and our yet again absent Mayor John McCormick, who's probably hiding out in his office again like the coward that he is. It's obvious that the Woodbridge PBA calls the shots, not the mayor, who has yet again caved to Jimmy Distelkamp, a cop who lives down in Jackson, and who literally said on January 6th, after the horrific white supremacist insurrection on our nation's capital, and I quote, "Police jobs just got harder again, thanks liberal Democrats." The fact that this is his takeaway is extremely frightening, but sadly not surprising from the head of a group whose members were pictured in our town newspaper posing under a Trump 2020 flag with Howie Bauer. Woodbridge's appalling racism has been enabled and emboldened by Mayor John McCormick, who callously refuses to take any kind of real stand against it, even going so far as to call our nation's largest racial justice movement awful. So the question now is, where are the so-called good cops? Or does James Distelkamp speak for you all? Where are the so-called good council members? Or does John McCormick and Brian Small speak for you all? I guess we'll find out. Justice for Najir Parks, justice for Jeremiah Daniels Porter, Black Lives Matter, and since I have 15 seconds, it's nice, Council President, that you gave your buddy and neighbor so much feedback, and McCormick's neighbor and buddy Vito Simaluka too. Wish we could get that kind of response from you instead of the silent treatment.
Time's up, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments from the public this evening?
Good evening, K-Town Little, Elizabeth, New Jersey. I'm still disgusted by your actions. I'm disgusted by your leadership. I'm disgusted by your lack of courage to do the right thing, your morals, your ethics, and your values. And you need to resign effective immediately. It is disgusting that you continuously sit there, you ignore the community who is hurting and suffering the most, and you turn your back on black people. You turn your back on me, Council President, as a black man who came here urging you to do the right thing and to have a heart generated by love and care and do the right thing for justice. But you failed to do that. You failed to act with courage and grace, and you failed to act with morality, and you failed to act with protecting your constituents who do not look like you. So you should resign too, as well as the rest of your racist colleagues. Yes, you are racist, and your mayor is too. And if you don't like that I call you racist, don't act racist, and you make sure that you lead and include people in the process to ensure that their concerns, wishes, and their desire and needs are heard and addressed, not mistreated and neglected. You know, when I asked my grandmother one day, what does it take to go through life? She said, all you need are the 3 bones. The wishbone, the jawbone, and the backbone. She said the wishbone would give you courage to speak truth to power. She said the jawbone would give you that strength to go through day to day, knowing that our ancestors have our back. And she said the most important bone of them all is the superradicadulistic expialidocious bone. You don't know what that means, do you? I guess not. That is the most important bone of them all. You know why? Because there's something to that saying in that bone that let us know that we are on the right side of history, finishing our ancestors' unfinished business, that this country have robbed them of their lives when they were killed by the state. And yet you have people in your own community who are terrorized by police that you refuse to act, that you continue to ignore. Resign, 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 resign. I can say it 1,000 more times until you resign. But I know you won't actually easily resign. That's why the community have to organize against you and exercise our powers to ensure that you resign. Meaning educating the community on what's really at stake. Educating the community on how they've been hurt and been ignored and ridiculed and silenced by the mayor and his racist administration. Many of you are racist, and we're tired of it. I don't have to live here to pay attention, but your own residents who don't look like you are tired of it. I see the rolled eyes already. Keep rolling your eyes at me. I want you to. Because you're not hurting me, and I'm not going to shut up. I come from a long family of civil rights history. And as I expressed before, that my grandfather was first cousins with Malcolm X. And I knew I had that sting of civil rights and that sting of liberation in my blood because I want my people to thrive. I want my people to live in a world that is full of peace, that is full of dignity, that's full of respect, and that requires them to be served with justice. But we're still fighting like hell in order to make it to tomorrow. With leaders like you who refuse to lead with our own struggles and include us in the process. Disheartening, disgusting, absurd. You have no room in elected office, and you should not be in it whatsoever. Because right now there's somebody who's being discriminated against the hands of law enforcement that you know about, and that you're refusing to remedy that in place. You ignore it. You mistreat it, you abuse it, and you neglect it. You're complacent, you're disgusting, your leadership speaks for itself, and people are tired of it. You don't want to hear the truth, we're going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Get your acts together. Do the right thing that is beneficial for the people. Not for yourself, but you are in love with self. You are in love with hooking your family members up with police jobs. You are in love with hooking yourselves up with better jobs, whether it's for the county or for the state. We're well aware that we follow the money. And we're demanding that you get your acts together and you stop it. But we know you won't stop it. So we have to fight against you because we deserve better and we want better. And we know better won't fall in our laps. We got to fight like hell for it. And we're prepared to do that. And I'm prepared to join my allies here in Woodbridge to ensure that that happens. It is a disgrace, and your leadership is a disgrace. Yes, you do have racist bones in your body. A lot of them. We see your comments on Facebook too, Mr. Spiller. Oh, you're fight against diversifying the police department. Why? You just want it to be all white? No, I don't yield back.
Are there any other comments this evening from the public? Here are no other comments. Can I get a motion that the public comment portion be closed?
Motion?
Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
We'll go into the agenda session. On my agenda, number 16, the summer concerts. I would urge our public to go onto the town's website. We have 53 concerts coming up, starting in June the 21st, running Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, all at Woodbridge High School. There's so many to name, but there's great shows. I want to thank Brian Molnar for putting this program together, and it's really good stuff for our residents to go and see. Just want to remind the public that April is Autism Awareness Month. I want to thank all our firefighters and our EMTs for going out on Easter and putting a lot of smiles on kids' faces, delivering candy. I went out with Port Reading. It was absolutely fantastic. I believe Mr. Bauer went out with Ford's and Mr. Spiller went out with Avenel, community servants. It was a great day. I want to again thank the health department for administering the vaccines. Everyone I talked to says it goes so well up there. I just want to thank Director Green. Thank you. And I just want to say to our essential workers, our police and fire and EMS, a great job out there as always. God bless America. Vice President Spiller. I'm sorry, Bauer, Vice President Bauer.
Thank you, Council President. My agenda's in order. I have two announcements. Ford's Car Barn Baseball League's opening day ceremonies will be this Saturday, April 10th, 11 a.m. at Ford's Park. And Hope On Youth Organization Baseball League opening day will be on Saturday, April 24th, both with weather permitting. And like Council President Small said, we brought smiles to many people's faces Easter weekend, young and old. It's something the mayor started last year during COVID, and something we'll be doing every year. I just like to thank my fellow firefighters and all our first responders, EMS, police, fire, and all our essential workers for everything they do every day. Thank you. That's all I have, Council President. Oh yeah, I just to thank the Ford's business community for last Saturday. They had their last minute Easter egg hunt for kids in the Ford's Second Ward area. They put it out to Menlo Park Terrace School, School 14, School 25. They had an Easter egg hunt. There was up to like 15 businesses that participated. The fire company, the Easter Bunny was out there and had a great turnout. I'd like to thank all the businesses that participated in this event, and I hope we can do again next year. And the Ford's business community again will be starting probably their annual cruise nights, and they usually do a trunk or treat in October. So take a big shout out to the Ford's business community for supporting their community, and thank everybody that attended the event. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Councilman Anderson?
Thank you, Council President. My agenda is in order. I have two items to mention. One, there will be a clothing drive fundraiser this Saturday at 450 Chena Hills Road, that is known as the Woodbridge Broncos building, and that begins at 8 a.m. Anything you have, shoes, pants, coats, and anything that you have that you would deem as clothing. And also, I would like to add that the Woodbridge Little League is having their parade this weekend on Saturday at 10 a.m. Come out, support the kids. The rest of the time I'm going to yield. I would like to speak about a great public servant that we lost this past weekend, who happened to be a very dear friend of mine. Kenny Armwood, as Kenny, many of you knew him as Kenny, was a man who put his world before himself. Whether you grew up with him in Newark, Irvington, or Piscataway, or had the privilege of walking beside him at a local parade, he knew your mother's name and asked about the recent event in your life. He remembered from the last conversation you had with him and kept up with the victories online. He did that because he loved you and he wanted you to succeed. While working at the Red Cross for many years, he had a chance to visit and help kids around the world. He was chosen to help provide assistance for a service learning program at the University of Balamand in Lebanon. This was an experience that he felt very honored to be a part of. His infectious smile and his great political mind only gave him 4 years of reprieve, and Kenny was asked to run for a position on the Piscataway Municipal Council in 2004. He served on the council until 2013 and was selected by his peers as the council president in 2008 and 2013. He was soon tapped to fill a vacancy on then named Board of County chosen three holders. He was also the second African American ever chosen to the board, and in 2020 was elected by his peers as the deputy director of the county board. While serving as an elected official on the county level, Kenny was able to bring people from all over New Jersey together to make the biggest impact locally. No one truly understands what the county government does, but if you have a few minutes to spare, Kenny would tell you why it was important to find out, why it was important to get involved. "You gotta do something" is a phrase you'd often hear in every speech. Whether it was get out the vote rally, a Black Lives Matter protest, or a long walk with one of his mentees from Job Corps, you immediately felt compelled to change the world. He had that effect on you. I went to his funeral the other day, and I was very moved, especially by the students from Job Corps that referred to him as their dad. He mentioned that to them when they first got there. He let them know, "I was your father. I am your father now." And there were some students that hadn't disclosed to him until later on in the program that they really did not have a father, and that he filled that void for them. He was a dear friend. He was a supporter, and he was a friend to all of us in Woodbridge. We've lost a great public servant, and I'm truly going to miss him. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Kyle Anderson. Councilman Anderson, we truly did, and I know your relationship with Mr. Ormond. Councilwoman DeJesus.
Thank you, Council President. My agenda is in order. I just have an announcement from item number 10, the Woodbridge Free Public Library. Library programs in April feature Hiking 101 as well as Saving for College and a program for small businesses owners. New Jersey sales tax and use, all from the safety and comfort of your home. Visit the library calendar at woodbridgelibrary.org to register or to find more information about library programs. You can also call the library for more information at 732-634-4450, extension 5. Thank you. That is all that I have.
Thank you. Councilman Spiller.
Thank you, Council President Small. My agenda is in order this evening. Just a few announcements. The gas company is going to be doing work installing new gas mains in Avenel and Port Reading. The streets are Burnett Street, George Street, East Pennsylvania Avenue, Meinzer Street, George Smith Street, Commercial Avenue, and in Port Reading. That's in progress already. In Port Reading, work is scheduled to commence May 25th. That's 3rd Avenue, 4th Avenue, East 5th Avenue, 6th Avenue, and Raritan Avenue, and then paving will commence once the project's complete. Just to reiterate the sentiment, I want to thank Avenel Fire Department, but all the fire departments that participated in the Easter Bunny Drive. I can't tell you how much positive feedback I got from the residents and our little kitties, so thank you. That's all I have. Just thank you to all our emergency responders, fire, EMS, our Woodbridge Police Department, OEM, and CERT. Be smart, be safe. God bless America. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Councilwoman Meehan.
Thank you, Council President. I'm going to go down to number 4 on my agenda. Colonia Cleanup is this Saturday, April 10th. We will be doing our annual cleanup at the Charlie Shaughnessy Park located on Inman Avenue. If you'd like to come out and help us beautify the park, please join us at 9 a.m. Join the cleanup this Saturday, myself, along with Colonia High School students that belong to the Colonia Care Group. We'll be planting a garden in memory of all the Colonia residents that have been lost from COVID. Once the garden is complete, we're going to leave stones there, and we invite families to come and put their names on the stones, and they can put them in the gardens just as a place for remembrance. And, of course, our continued prayers are with those families. Going down to agenda number 12, Woodbridge Township Addiction Services, under the direction of Dr. Bonnie Nolan, are planning a series of fundraisers for Sober Living Fund, which provides the first month rent in sober living for people who have just completed inpatient treatment. So far, this fund has helped dozens of people on the path to lasting recovery. Information about these fundraisers will be announced shortly, and we will post them on the township website and social media. The RESET program, which stands for Recovery, Employment Solution, Education, and Training, was extended through March and has now helped 40 additional people affected by the opioid epidemic to find training and employment with this round of funding. The Blue Care program, which enables law enforcement all over the county to connect with residents, recovery coaching and referral services, continues to be funded successfully by the Middlesex County's Prosecutor's Office and was recently awarded additional funding to cover more drug court programs. Our coaches in this program continue to do wellness checks on people who have overdosed with very good results. If you or someone you know are battling addiction, you're not alone. There's places in Woodbridge Township that can help you. Please reach out to us. You can call 732-855-2800, extension 5008. And I just want to thank the Colonia Fire Department also, just like the other councilman said. I was able to go out with them the week before Easter with the bunny also, and it was great to see all the smiling faces and the parents. There's a lot of senior citizens waving from their windows, so it really was important that we went out and spread a little sunshine. So thank you to all these firemen who not only put their lives in danger, they also go out and they do lovely things for our community. And lastly, Mr. Disselkamp, I hate when you say that, and I've about had it.
No, that's not this one.
Dombrowski, sorry.
Excuse me.
I'm gonna talk now. You had your chance to talk.
You talked
You always
already.
call me racist. I invite you to come out with me at any event.
Officer, remove him, please.
Anytime you can come out with me in the community, and I will show you the things I do for this community. I never ask who they are. I just help them. Thank you. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Councilwoman Meehan. Councilman Ficarra.
Thank you, Council President. I'm going to go down my list. First, in the area of recreation and wellness, just some announcements at the community center that the Skyline Mini Golf is open along with the batting cages. And in the month of April, the joiner's fee is waived if you join the community center with a friend, so it kind of encourages fitness. It's not too early to start to plan for summer camp, kids sports at the club. The Woodbridge Community Center has its summer camp in Merrill Park, so there's numerous opportunities depending on the need of the children. NJWCC.com and the club.org is the best way to get that information. Moving down to the mental health issue that I've been following up with, checking in with Dr. Nolan. There seems to be a very good relationship and good reporting going on between the police department and the program. Since it started about 2 weeks ago, there have been already 30 residents to receive assistance that initiated through the police department and was passed on to the specialized case management and outreach services. So that's coming from Dr. Nolan, and it's good to hear, and it's good to follow up and be aware of that. Also in the world of COVID-19, Director Green is here, and he does a good job of keeping us informed. We've had 28 clinics so far. Excuse me. 28 clinics so far, 4,604 doses administered. In Woodbridge, the COVID count, we had 77 at St. Joseph's during the pandemic, 836 in state facilities. The community at large had 10,466 cases for a total of 11,359 cases in Woodbridge Township. Also, just to notify that as of April 19th, all persons 16 years old or older will be eligible. I don't know where this is coming from, but
Everybody has it tonight.
yeah, something hay fever or something. Okay, there it is. I'm back. Two things I just wanted to point out off my agenda. The term tax abatement is used quite a bit, which seems to indicate that somebody's not paying taxes. The real name of the program is a pilot program. The first letter in pilot is P, and that stands for payment. And these projects that are being redevelopment at times are tripling the amount of property tax that's being paid into our ratables. So that is the incentive. That's why we're successful for that. Nobody's getting any kind of underhanded break here. We're bringing more money into the town. I doubt if we'll ever lower taxes, which we would all love, but trying to keep them level is the whole point of the pilot program. Secondly, I just wanted to point out that there was a resolution Mr. Dombrowski had brought up a little earlier, and Victoria, I'm sorry, you brought it up too. We don't have that information in front of us, but it had something to do with police hiring. It was initiated by the mayor and the administration. Initiated by the mayor and the administration. There's been some questions about it that have to be cleared up, and that's why it was pulled. So I just wish Jimmy was here to hear where that came from. Didn't come from anybody up here. It came from the mayor. And it's being looked at a little further because there were good questions that were brought up that need to be answered. Council President, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Patel?
Yeah. Thank you, Council President. My agenda is also in order, but I have few announcements. First of all, I would like to thank our mayor and mayor's office staff members for creating and promoting COVID vaccines hotline flyers in Hindi, English and Gujarati languages. Hindi and Gujarati languages, they are mainly Indian languages. That the flyer read in English, Asian Indian Seniors Vaccination Hotline. If you are a Woodbridge Township resident over the age of 65 and need help scheduling vaccine appointment, please call 732-726-2352, John E. McCormick, Mayor, Virbhadra Patel, Councilman. The same message read in Hindi this way. Woodbridge मेयर का संदेश भारतीय मूल के वुडब्रिज निवासियों के लिए वैक्सीन हॉटलाइन। यदि आप वुडब्रिज नगर के निवासी हैं और आपकी उम्र 65 साल से ऊपर हो तो कोविड वैक्सीन के लिए अपॉइंटमेंट के लिए इस हॉटलाइन पर फ़ोन करें। द नंबर इज़ 732-726-2352। The same message read in Gujarati this way. Asian Indian ભારતીયો માટે કોરોના વેક્સિનની હોટલાઇન. જો તમે વુડબ્રિજ ટાઉનશીપના રહેવાસીઓ અને 65 વર્ષની ઉંમરની તમારી ઉંમર હોય અને વેક્સિન મૂકવા માટે તમને જો એપોઇન્ટમેન્ટ લેવા મદદ જોઈતી હોય તો આ ફોન નંબરનો સંપર્ક કરો 732-726-2352. I would like to thank Amrit Hazari for putting this Gujarati translation and also Ashok Oza for putting this Hindi translation. Also in Islamic faith, observance and celebration of Ramadan is very important. This year Ramadan will start on April 12th and will go on for a month and will conclude on May 12th. The Islamic followers will fast, pray and practice pure lifestyles. I wish them all happy Ramadan. Also, our township schools are closed for the spring break. I would like to wish all those students, parents, and school staff members a happy and joyful spring break. That's all for tonight. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Mr. Mitch.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under number 1, letter A, continue to work with the police department and trying to get a couple matters resolved before this comes to you. Letter B, also work on the police department on this new transfer. Drop into number 3, you'll start seeing renewals probably in about another 30 to 45 days come before you on liquor licenses. Also due to the ongoing pandemic and the restrictions on how many people we can have in a room, I again have to not have an in-person meeting with the 92 licensees. So we teamed up with the state ABC to do a virtual session on April 21st of this year. In fact, I'll send Councilman Ficarra an invitation if he cares to join us. I'm sure he will. Just one last comment. Just to be reminded, when legal is done, we're going to go right into the Board of Health meeting. That's all. Thank you.
Business Administrator Simaluka.
Thank you. I'd just like to say on behalf of the administration, Mayor McCormick especially, the passing of Commissioner Armwood is a huge loss for Middlesex County, New Jersey as a whole. He was a visionary, and he was a great man. So he's going to be missed. His friendship's going to be missed, and so is his legislation going to be missed. So our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. With that, under administration, I have an overpayment of tax, sewer tax. I have a 100% disability veteran. I have shared services with the Avenel Fire Department for IT services. Under police, I have a traffic ordinance. And under planning and development, I have a refund under current account. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Legal?
Nothing this evening, Council President.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
sorry.
I'm sorry, we got to go into,
Can I get a motion to continue right into the Board of Health meeting?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Green?
Thank you. Prepared did a great job outlining all our COVID numbers and activities. I just want to add that Woodbridge Health Department continues to respond to all the COVID cases and contacts, which currently average about 40 a day. We continue to provide information, guidance, outreach, and response on COVID-related issues to the community and businesses, particularly when the state issues changes related to permissible activities. We also continue to provide COVID vaccine clinics as vaccine is made available to the eligible groups. Recently, the state announced that the vaccine eligibility is set to expand on April 19th to all persons 16 and older. I would like to take the opportunity to thank Council, the Township Administration, and the numerous departments for their support during this unusual time. I would also like to commend the staff of the Health Department who have worked tirelessly during the past 13 months as they have had to respond to this pandemic. There have been many challenges and adjustments during this time. The duties and responsibilities of every staff member has changed and expanded in order to rise to the occasion and provide the professional level of service needed to serve the community. I thank all of them for the extra effort and the overtime they have worked and continue to work as we continue to respond to the pandemic. Thank you.
Council President, we can't give Director Green a raise, but we can give him a round of applause for his service.
Thank you, Director. Thank you. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.